It's vital that we free these players from their prison. That is their dog shit MMORPG.
Wait. Did he actually get underwear made that have Steven's face on them? The way these are cut off and everything, and the way it's like printed on there and it goes with the wrinkle, it doesn't look like this is an image. This looks like the motherfucker had custom underwear made with Steven's face on it.
And it's this that I want to highlight. Ashes of Creation has shown incredible progress in 2022, revealing revolutionary technology that has never been seen before in an MMORPG, and has shown incredible evidence of network feats that were previously thought impossible with—
That is a lot of people on screen with a lot of specs and everything, spell effects and everything popping off. Let's see if it looks like there's any warping going on by any of the characters or anything. Do you see anybody warping?
Graphics. Oh,
and this was during an alpha, right? It was just during an alpha.
That clip you just saw was during their Alpha 1 phase, before they even moved over to Unreal Engine 5.
Oh, that was,
the benefits of that.
Oh, that's pretty huge too, because Unreal 5 is going to make all that kind of stuff easier. It's going to work much better. That's I forgot about that. So that awesome, like, big mass scale battle test is before they even got onto Unreal 5.
Engines, optimization, and networking upgrades. So let that one sink in. Star Citizen.
Yeah, and also dialing in like the optimization is usually one of the last things that happens in the development cycle, right? It's kind of like in the final polishing stages usually.
Is a disaster compared to Ashes of Creation, which has been in development for 1/3 of the time, raised 100 times less dollars, and yet has delivered on their promises at roughly the original ETAs. Huh? The original 2018 release date? Say that again. I dare you. I don't think it's fair to
That's funny because I recently just made an emote for the channel, right? Of course, I'm waiting for it pending still. But I saw that photo when I was searching on.
Intrepid are developing at a much faster and more successful pace than any of the other Kickstarter MMOs, and their marketing practices are far less predatory than Star Citizen's literal
God, dude! What the fuck? $15,000. Of course they're in stock, you f***s. They're digital goods. You don't run out of stock, you just put another one, right? They're all just ones and zeros in a computer. Of course they're in stock.
NFT level ships, Pantheons, $750.
What is this? This is Pantheon? It looks like it probably is by these. What? Bro, I didn't realize Pantheon had such fucking shitty things on this too. And it's another one that's definitely, the development process on it is not looking nearly as good as Ashes.
The pre-alpha keys, and all of our currently popular MMOs that are rife with—
What? You can get the— I didn't know that you could get the fuck— this is like the samurai costume. I didn't know you could put this samurai costume on the giant. What the f— why? Just so they can sell it to more people, I guess.
MMOs that are rife with various degrees of pay to win. All things considered, I actually think, if anything, Ashes of Creation gets given too much shit and negativity from the MMORPG community. It's like they're
probably
so
fair.
jaded,
Probably a fair
they
take.
refuse to let another game convince them of success. Or maybe they're scared Ashes of Creation is going to ruin their currently favorite MMO, but I digress. I think holding Steven and Intrepid accountable—
There is a really weird thing with like WoW and Final Fantasy XIV players, it seems like, where they're the kind of people that end up liking their game so much that not all of them, right, but there's like a chunk of them that are pretty toxic in this way, where it's like they like their game so much that they say other games are shit and whatever before they even play them. Actually, I heard Soda Poppin', he was talking about this with like arguing with like his teacher when he was in high school about what Star Wars Galaxies or Star Wars The Old Republic, that MMO, was coming out. He was telling this story about telling his teacher, because his teacher liked it, right? So he's arguing with his fucking teacher about it. And he was a hardcore WoW player, right? And so he basically was telling him that the game is shit. It's dog shit. And then he was like, you know, then like, you know, in this later conversation talking about it, he was admitting that he's like, I never played it. I was just right? I was a WoW player, so I just confidently said that like everything else was shit.
is a good thing. At least we can look at Ashes of Creation's development and see that they can actually deliver a decent MMO.
Yeah, I really like their open development process.
Creator, the combat, it's all very promising, quite unlike Star Citizen, Camelot Unchained, Crowfall, and all those other Kickstarter MMOs. But does that really justify it being called the savior of the MMORPG genre?
No, that is like dangerous levels of hype, right? Labeling things at that is, I think several creators have made videos about this actually, and warning how that's a bad thing, right? Like overhyping a game is really, really bad for the game. Honestly, like overhyping really anything is really bad for it, right? Because then when it comes out, it's essentially impossible for it to live up to the overhype that was going on. And so even if it comes out and it's like a really fucking good game, if it's not, there's basically no way that it would be able to live up to that expectation that gets planted in people's mind and their own imagination running wild when they're hearing everybody call something like the savior of a genre, you know? That is way too much hype and pressure.
Well, that's an interesting question, so I think we'll discuss this next.
The copium thing. But also, right, like I said, I think the reason that's happening, like I made this comment on that Reddit post, the reason this is happening though is because most MMOs are not even, they're not even like the ones in development that are talking, you know, they come out or whatever. Usually they're not even trying to blow the right kind of smoke up your ass. Yo, Curry, how's it going, man? Right, so like in that thread when I was talking about it, it was like the MMO genre is full of these games and they keep coming out and right, and they might look good, this and that, but they're not selling you, like for the guys that liked older MMOs, they're not even promising, right? Whether or not the market promises turn out to be real or not, most of them are not even promising what we want to hear, us that enjoyed the older MMOs. And Ashes, along with the Riot one, are very few games that are promising this. And we know a lot more about the Ashes one. Specifically, like even if you just talk about classes, right? There are entire classes and like subgenres of the classes, like right, we've got the genre of MMORPG, and then there's all these different kinds of like subgenres inside of it. And almost every MMO has moved away from the older style where you had essentially like multiple classes where their job was like pure support role type stuff, or like crowd control as a form of support, right? And the Ashes of Creation, right, is bringing back the Enchanter. Like this was an EverQuest class that is beloved and right, and it's like no game really has an Enchanter anymore. Nothing that's even similar, remotely close to what EverQuest had in theirs. Same thing for the Bard, right? They're bringing back Bards. That's another big one, right? And it's probably going to be a Bard that's kind of EverQuest inspired, because some of the people working on the classes are actually like were EverQuest developers. Hey, how's it going, Star Kitty? Happy Saturday to you as well.
Let's not get it twisted. Ashes of Creation doesn't need to be the savior of MMORPGs. It just needs to be a fun, open-world PvP MMO and not compromise its progression with pay-to-win, of which Steven has assured us it won't, because the whole reason he...
Yeah, that's right. Steven's thing, right, with starting it is because pay-to-win ruined Arcade, which was a really good MMO that was ruined by pay-to-win. I can admit that. I played it from the very beginning. And once you got into the progression where the pay-to-win started to really come in and be a factor, that is when I stopped playing the game. One of the MMOs I had the most fun with, though, right? Just running around with my buddy Drico, and me and him would be slaughtering mother effers everywhere, right? Going around to those different player-made towns and just fighting, you know, everyone. Just the two of us versus everyone, right? Getting people to chase us and luring them out, right? And get that gank on them and then turn around and kill the other ones. You know, it was so much fun. But then that pay-to-win starts to come in, and you're like, I'm not trying to waste my money so I can keep having fun. And that was the fun part of the game. A lot of it was the PvP. So like, if you make a game like that, then you add pay-to-win, you're absolutely going to destroy your game.
He started his crusade in the first place was because Arcade, Steven's favorite MMO, destroyed itself with pay-to-win. Why would he want his own game to be destroyed in the same way? For infamy? For money? Well, considering Steven's down 30 million since Alpha 1, I'm pretty sure he's not looking to grab a quick buck with...
Ash's monetization plan, if they stick to what they've, you know, said so far that their plan is for it, it's going to be no box costs, No like expansions or anything like that. There's just going to be a subscription fee. And then they will have a cash shop, and the cash shop promises to basically be purely cosmetic, like no convenience or pay to win type items.
With a rug pull, ain't nobody going around claiming this upcoming indie MMO is gonna be the
Hey
MMO
Curry,
that
thanks for the
saves
gifted, man.
genre. Well, at least
That
not
Squirtle.
within my niche community, because when they do, they...
Whoa, what is this? Dipshits detective. What is this? Copium? Oh, this must be in his Discord server. And so he named his bot Copium Cart Ogre? What the fuck? Dipshit detected. The Copium cartel has detected you have violated the one and only rule of this Discord, and as a result, your current stash has been revoked and you have been sent to rehab for punishment. What? Dealt by Copium dealer or higher? Dude, what? What? Guys, listen, Ashes of Creation is going to be the savior of the MMORPG genre, and Steven is a god. And then, what the fuck? Hard mute? This guy got muted, and then, what the fuck? Dude, I'm so, his Discord server seems like it's set up kind of interesting. That's funny.
But there's absolutely nothing wrong with huffing a little copium, getting excited for a game that seems to be doing all the right things for once. I mean, my whole brand depends on people huffing that copium, and for every like that this video gets, I'll be distributing a free canister for all the lovely...
That's cool though, right? Showing the miss is showing that the, a little bit of like skill depth in there, right? With needing to position stuff, you know? Like, not everything is going to just land. I like that.
Boys in the Discord.
The combat system looks so improved.
Today as well.
It looks pretty fucking good now. What we need to see is the improved combat system, also for some of the like casters and stuff. I don't know what's going on. They stopped doing those class previews. Like if you follow Ashes of Creation, I think it's been well over a year since they did the last class preview. Right, and they did it for like I think a priest or cleric type of deal, and they did it for like a warrior, and they did it for the straight up mage, but they haven't done it for basically all the others, you know, summoner or anything else yet.
This genre has been in a dire state for a long-ass time now, with only disappointments coming and going faster than your average raid tier in WoW. It's not like Ashes of Creation is perfect. Quick reminder in case you forgot, Ashes of Creation doesn't even exist, but what else is there to get hyped for? I can't think of a single other Western MMO that I'm excited about. Riot's MMO is going to be another corporate shitshow with linear theme park gameplay.
I guess could be true. If you do not like linear theme park style at all, most likely, right, Riot's MMO is probably going to be more of a theme park, you know, full of like a very, you know, set like storyline narrative and the quest progression and all that. But we don't know that for sure. But we do know that it's not PvP focused. It's going to be PvE cooperative focused. So there is that, right? If you like more of a sandbox with a bit of, you know, quite a bit more PvP opportunity and such, then it wouldn't be for you, right? Because, yeah, it might be. But everything comes down to individual tastes and preferences, right, Almighty? So it's like, if you really like PvP-based MMOs, like if you were a Dark Age of Camelot fan, or you loved Guild Wars 2 and you mostly spent your time doing world versus world combat with your, you know, your friends in your guild like I did, then you might be looking more at something like Ashes of Creation than Riot's. I'll be trying them both regardless, because Riot is saying the right things on the PvE side.
Made by one of the most infamous MMORPG devs there ever was. Pantheon Rise of the Fallen is,
Well, that's not a very healthy attitude to have. If someone doesn't like the game you like, it means that they're trash. It's not a very healthy attitude.
Yeah, and all the Asian MMOs are basically just gambling simulators
Tower of Fantasy
behind giant anime titties.
Yep, they're all gambling simulators hidden behind giant anime titties. That is exactly what they are.
Ashes is an ambitious, fully funded game made by someone who understands MMOs, and his team is growing at an
I wasn't
alarming
a big
rate.
fan.
As of August 2022, I think they've just passed 130 employees, and still hiring left, right, and center. I get the feeling we've not even begun to see the true pace Intrepid can churn out content, and 2022 still has 4 more opportunities to blow our mind. And I'm confident
I feel that,
they
Star
plan
Kitty.
to do exactly that. In a perfect world,
So Star Kitty says, I'm trying to stay away from companies that are owned by Tencent. Yeah, that's a good one, right? And which one are you talking about? Is that Riot? Is that Riot's owned by Tencent, isn't it? Is there what's the motive behind you for avoiding Tencent? I haven't looked a whole lot into it. Did Tencent specifically do some like super unethical stuff? Because I know like League, is a pretty popular whatever game, and it's not monetized in like a super shitty way and such. So there's promise there that Riot is able to make good games and not make the monetization super overly shitty. But MMO is another deal, and I'd be curious what the exact reason behind that is. Honestly, like anything, right, where it's public, right, publicly, like a big public company with the shareholders and everything, I'm automatically a little bit concerned, right? Because we've seen the direction they tend to go. They tend to, over time, if they're not continuing to have year-over-year growth and profits, they end up making them do shady stuff to the monetization so that they can get that year-over-year growth on profits. Because for shareholders, just being profitable, like very successfully profitable, is not enough, right? It has to be growth. You have to make more money the next year than you did the previous year, and so on every year. Or they consider that failing, right? It's like $1 billion in profit is a fail to a public company with shareholders if next year it's not 1.2 or 1.1 billion at least, right?
This would be considered special, but unfortunately, in this MMO drought, people are getting desperate. The reason fanatics 10k deep into this project call it the savior of MMORPGs is because we have seen solid evidence of absolutely insane development. But is what we've seen really enough to justify the title of savior of...
Let's see if he gets to the point that I'm hinting on it, because I don't think that's the reason, right? Again, I think the reason is that there are only 2 MMOs in development that are even if everything about the development and what they say is a lie, right? Because you always have to assume that at this point, right? It's marketing, promises, potentially lies until you get your hands on the game. Now, the thing is, most of the lies that you're hearing or the marketing promises are not even the promises you want to hear. Not if you're an older MMO fan who enjoyed what the older MMOs were like. You are literally not even hearing what you want. Like, as soon as a game says, right, I find out that there's a gambling system in the game, right, at all, I'm like, all right, well, you're literally not even telling me what I want to hear. This isn't what I wanted to hear. This isn't what I wanted at all.
MMORPGs. Well, as someone who is neck deep in the copium for this highly ambitious MMORPG, we've not even seen some of the best systems come to light yet. And I think it's this that makes a lot of the players in the know super excited. So why does Ashes of Creation get so much?
You can look at it that way, I suppose, but I guess we're talking about financial gambling specifically, or like, shitty, like having to enhance gamble on your gear in order to get the progression. It's not fun and rewarding. It doesn't bring in the side of the game of an MMO that's enjoyable, right? When you're doing if you want to call it gambling to try to, grind for a rare item, it's like you're typically doing that with a group of friends and you're doing the gameplay loop. When you are gambling in an enhancement system, most of those games have you acquiring most of the stuff in order to do that in solo play, even if it's not though, right? Like you do all your whatever to acquire the stuff. And then when you're actually trying to get the gear progression, you're sitting there by yourself just hitting a button. You're not doing something fun with friends. You are purely sitting there and like pulling the lever on the slot machine, How's it going, Closeted Minky?
Hype, but at the same time, so much criticism. There's many hypocritical accusations being thrown its way according to the general player base. Things like utilizing fear of missing out tactics, or things like us paying them a ludicrous amount of money to test their game.
Oh, amazing. That's what you want to hear.
To me the most
Homie's having a good Saturday.
The game is nothing but empty promises until it finally releases.
Yes.
Except it's not empty promises. Even in its alpha phase, Ashes showed that their networking and
I
optimization
love it, bro. This is dedication to the Copium meme. He made his name Copium when he played the alpha.
is far above games like New World. Not that that's much of a compliment.
Yeah.
And by refusing to acknowledge this, you're just being disingenuous. One of the major problems with Kickstarter projects like Star Citizen, Chronicles of Valeria, Crowfall, and all them other garbage scams is scope creep. Something Ashes has kept in check from day one. Out of all the...
I mean, you can say that, but there are a lot of people who feel like even though Ashes isn't having scope creep over time, that their onset plans and promises are like already too much. That is, I know some people's concern is that the game sounds too good, like it's gonna do too many things. So it's kind of already got that concern built in from the beginning for a lot of people. But he's right that they're not continuing to expand the creep like a bunch over time as they go.
Things they've shown, to me, the most tangible part of this project is their lack of scope creep. They set their development goals during Kickstarter, smashed them all, setting records within a few days, but despite the insane amount of interest, they didn't add any additional features, even though they probably could have comfortably done that. They aren't just winging it and adding new potential content all the time. It's always been about the same core gameplay features. I think that the player base just don't understand that MMO...
Yeah, a lot of people just have concern that like their initial promises and the gameplay loop that they're talking about, it can almost sound a little too good to be true sometimes, you know, like the entire node system and how complex and dynamic that's supposed to end up making the world. And we've seen a decent bit of it, but I know that's one of the concerns, right? Is like some of the stuff just sounds too good.
Development takes a long ass time. Like, seriously guys, what do you want? Another unfinished corporate shit show that dies within a month just so you can get your monkey brain MMO fix? Or do you want an MMO that's made with passion, time, and care, but most importantly, that it actually works? I'm at the point where I don't trust.
Honestly, that made with passion thing is honest. It's one of the most important things. You can tell when the games aren't made with passion, right? And it's made to make money before it's made as a passion project. And what made something like EverQuest so special is it was purely a passion project, right? They did it because they were passionate. It was the first, like, really of its time, right? They loved MUDs. They wanted to play MUDs with, like, an actual graphic system and their characters, not just text-based, you know? And then they worked on putting one out. And it feels so like an RPG. Right? It feels like a true RPG game, which that is one of the things also that's big time lost in most MMOs. They don't feel RPG at all to me anymore. They should drop the RPG part off, right? And come up with something else.
AAA companies to make MMOs because they just make them single-player RPGs with co-op and most likely the same.
It's not even RPG. They're just single-player story games. Single-player bad story.
From the last 2 decades. This is exactly what I predict we'll see for Riot's MMO. That's not an MMO to me. The massively multiplayer online role-playing game genre has been tainted by this weird single-player obsession with finite content that...
What did he say about Riot's? Because Riot is saying that theirs is not going to be a single-player game. That's not what he just said here, is it?
This is exactly what I predict we'll see for Riot's MMO. That's not...
What? Has he done zero research into it? On stream the other day, you remember when we went and we searched and I showed you the quote from the devs on how it's not going to be a single-player game? I guess we'll see.
Importantly, that it actually works. I'm at the point where I don't trust AAA companies to make MMOs because they just make them single-player RPGs with co-op and most likely the same garbage mechanics from the...
Yeah, okay. I 100% agree with this part of the statement.
Last 2 decades. This is exactly what I predict we'll see for Riot's MMO. That's
where I don't know, man. The dev quote from Riot is very specific. If you want to play a single player game, there are already great single player games, and then they even list a few great single player games, and then they say if you want to play a game with friends, play our MMO. So we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully they don't. I really hope the leveling experience isn't a boring solo bullshit story questing to max experience.
not an MMO to me. The massively multiplayer online role-playing game genre has been tainted by this weird single-player obsession with finite content that must be completed as fast as possible. There's no compelling social gameplay, no enjoyable, repeatable content that keeps me interested, but above everything else, satisfying progression no longer exists in our currently popular MMOs because satisfying progression costs time. When you rush through a game to burn through the content as fast as possible, that's not satisfying. That is,
I'm pretty sure Narc has a video on this also, but that's one of the big issues for me with the way the MMOs have gone, is they used to also, right, not only feel much more like an RPG, but they were also, like, the journey was really enjoyable, right? The journey is just as good and enjoyable as the end game, like if not even more enjoyable. That is the exact opposite of every modern MMO that comes out. Every single one that comes out is like trash snooze fest until you get to max level, and then maybe you finally get to do some challenging, exciting, really fun content. But most of the leveling process is like, oh my gosh, okay, we just click through this boring thing, and then we do this, and we do another like delivery quest, and then we do this, and we do this, and we do this, and we like none of it's very far from what it used to be.
Not meaningful. That's
garbage. Not meaningful.
It's all about participation rewards nowadays and cheap.
He literally is using some of the words and like phrases that I use in my video, like participation trophies for everyone.
Dopamine hits in the form of exploitation.
And I use the dopamine hit like analogy too. It basically just being like a fucking dopamine simulator and not really being an RPG anymore.
Gambling simulators, and then people wonder why they don't enjoy MMOs anymore. This is the opposite of what Ashes of Creation is trying to do. Within the very core design, they are trying to bring back that old school feeling of social gameplay and progression, but that doesn't mean they will succeed. Their development progress recently has been impressive, and I'm sure there's some more exciting live streams to come. However, cautiously optimistic is a healthy place to be going forward. And for the love of God, if you feel compelled to purchase an Alpha 2 key, at least wait until we see it first. They're not going to stop selling them after the Alpha 2 launches, and you're just taking an unnecessary risk for the sake of some cosmetics that you probably won't even use. But
yeah, that's true.
I am just one nerd desperate for a good MMO.
Me too, bro.
My opinions mean nothing without yours in the comments below. And hey, we're closing in on 30,000 subs extremely quickly, but I really want to push for it before this month's live stream, as I have something quite big planned. So please, I know most of you are already subscribed because I have an abnormally high subscriber view count, but just double check and I'll catch you again.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens when you niche down. If you niche down super hard, the keys are really expensive. That's one of the things that it gets hate on. That's one of the things that gets hate on for, is that the keys are usually not cheap. We can take a look, but I'm pretty sure it's like right there. There's all the jokes and memes about it being like $500. If you want the alpha access, it is the most expensive. This pack, you didn't just tell me to go Google it. Yeah. I mean, what not? That's what we do on the. That's what I do here on the stream, man. Is like my stream is primarily like chat interaction, and whatever chat wants to do, they steer it. I just try to come into the stream with at least a couple things lined up, so that I can, right, keep it flowing until people start coming in and talking and saying what they like to do in the direction they'd like it to go. So this was $500 before, and I'm pretty sure they just lowered it because Alpha 1 is done now, right? And this used to get you Alpha 1, Alpha 2, and the betas. And then look, you get 9 months of game time also, like after the game comes out, right? But it all hinges on it coming out. So like if you want all the cosmetics they release each month, you have to, yeah. So you know about the cosmetics thing, right, Curry? Narc's done a video talking about this also, but the cosmetics in this game are not just like cosmetics being sold. The cosmetics that people are buying, like say you buy a mount, that mount is actually like a mob that they developed it for the game itself to populate the world, and then they just add on some stuff to kind of convert it over into a mount, and they sell it to help with like the, you know, the process in the or with the like helps continue to fund it and make the money, etc., whatever. But it's kind of genius. He talked about this, like they are they're trying to not have like a game full of a bunch of copy-pasted assets, right? Which is one of the problems a lot of MMOs have. And they seem like they're going a direction where there's going to be shitloads of like unique creatures and things pretty much everywhere you go to discover. And a big, decent part of that is because they have this asset team constantly working on this stuff. And it's not just a cosmetic. It's the actual development process of the game. And then you kind of get like the cosmetic mount or whatever as a perk. Right, but the real purpose is you're helping fund the actual development for the game, which is a stark difference from like what most games do with their cosmetic shops, right? Is where you end up getting stuff from the shop that it's way cooler than anything you could get in the world and etc. Whereas here you're more helping to fund the world, and then you get this like mount or whatever as, you know, a perk. And the armor might be like stuff that, you know, some NPCs are gonna be wearing, etc. But that's how most of the like pre-game coming out cosmetics work. But again, also, like, I always like to keep that healthy skepticism, right? Of it's like, these are all just promises though, right? It's all promises until we get it. But this one, it seems unlikely that this is going to be just a grift, right? They're really showing the development process and how much they're building and really working on the game. Every month they do that live stream and you see significant progress made. I don't feel like it's gonna be BS, right? I feel like the game is going to come out. There's people that literally don't even think it's going to come out, right? And it's just like a scam.